Right. So, in today's session, we are going to discuss about some interview orientation in context to sale point identity access management in regard to the role of a business analyst. As in when we know, SailPoint is one of the important application where we are majorly used in identity access management, especially in the field of cyber security, all that stuff. One of the key and important application. Last sessions, we have successfully completed the training on business analyst and sale point, as in when identity access management. So, cyber security related stuff that was done already. In today, I'm going to discuss about some scenario based because when we are going for any kind of interviews and all that, so first of all, there are some scenarios because there is a disclaimer which I must tell you because the kind of scenarios which I'm going to explain you or the kind of information that I may be providing are limited because I cannot tell you all the scenarios, right? So we may not be having that much time to do, but there are different scenarios there in the industry, in the real world. But I'm going to discuss few in that. So when we are as a business analyst, we are all focusing more on understanding the requirements, providing solutions, all that. Anyway, as a BA, we do that. You know it. But when we go for an any interview, there are some points, a basic level understanding and basic level questions will also be asked by the interviewer panel, etc. Something they must ask you about what are the different key features are there in sale point, right? So what is your understanding over sale point roles and responsibilities as a business analyst when you are working on. So basic common knowledge as a BA, understanding the business situation, providing solutions, identifying the goal and objective. These are all something which is common. Anyway, you know it. Now, I'm going to take a scenario, which is one scenario. I'm taking scenario one. Okay, I'm just taking one scenario here. Scenario, for example, we are helping one organization called XYZ, for example, right? So to want to set up some sale point for identity governance. When we want to set up sale point for any organization or we are configuring something, how are we going to explain the key benefits that we are using in SailPoint, especially in enterprise environment, is something uh, anybody can expect from us, right? So if there is any implementation we are doing, so what are the key elements that we need to be focused? Now, when we try to explain this, being a BA, first of all, we should provide some information relating to the mentioning of the key features, something like automated provisioning as well as deprovisioning, or else it can be role-based access, something like RABC, we call it as, right, in short, RABC, or compliance monitoring, or audit trails, or user lifecycle management, and policy reinforcements. So these are the key features which are implemented by us as a business analyst in Salesforce. This is something which you can say because they may ask you, do you have any knowledge over the features or not? So this is something we can explain to the people. At the same time, we must explain in detail because anyway, I have already given training on SailPoint IAM business analyst point of view. Hence, I am not repeating those points. But when it comes to the key important scenarios is identity governance. What identity governance and how it functions, and being a BA, what is your role in it? At the same time, if you are promoting yourself that I had experience in compliancing and an automation or something like you are experiencing in compliance or any kind of automation, or it can be role management or policy enforcement. If this kind of information that we are mentioning in our CV, that key concepts you have to explain how this work, how this concept will work, and as a business analyst, what role I have played in policy reinforcements, okay, enforcements, or else how I have addressed the identity governance, and what kind of compliance standards, policies, and procedures that I have followed. Everything you can explain. This is all something I'm giving you a scenario where taken SailPoint is an example. When you are implementing this to the organization, we need to understand and explain the key features followed by the key concepts which are involved in it. Second, this is in general the statement which I am giving you, because this is about the business requirement gathering. Especially, for example, I may be taking some other scenario. For example, uh, I'm taking scenario two. Okay, for example, right? So scenario one, I have already explained you. Let's say, for example, scenario two, we have taken an example from the business requirement gathering. For example, okay, for example, there is some client, one of our client we have, wherein client wants to implement a solutions to manage access for their users who work across multiple applications with different levels of permissions and all that. So in this manner, uh, how are we approaching and how we are going to gather the requirements for that? This is something we need to explain this from the requirements perspective. Okay, requirement perspective. The response wherein we should give, especially for implementing solution to manage access for users across different places and all, should be focused more on, first we have to explain who the users are, because users may vary, right? So different depends on the users, external and internal users, business users, in context to that point I'm saying. So first we have to explain who the users are and what are the roles and responsibilities that we need to explain. That is point number one. Point number two, we should able in a position to explain which systems or applications required for user access management. Means what kind of applications they were using. Let me take SailPoint is one of the application we are using for identity access management and user access management. So we need to explain again, if you can relate the first scenario point and you can explain what are the features that are involved, etc. All that. Next, you have to explain the specific compliance requirements also, because especially from the IAM point of view, identity access management, compliance standards, policies, all these are really important. So compliance requirements, for example, any segregation of duties or role-based accesses, right? So at the same time, what kind of security protocols that are needed to be enforced? For example, any MFA or any kind of policy, password policies, everything we can explain. But in this process of explanation, we should have a detailed understanding over the role of a BA from the requirement gathering perspective. At the same time, stakeholder communication. At the same time, we must be having a detailed understanding and explanation over the role-based access control, which is called RABC. Because when I have taken sessions, if you remember, I have explained that RABC and all that, RBACs and all. Role-based access control we call it. So that explanation we have to give. This is point number two, scenario number two. Now I am going to explain you the scenario three. Okay, scenario three. Now, from the context of scenario three, because end of the day, when we are working on application as a business analyst, irrespective of the application, one of the major thing as a BA we need to do customization in and involvement of customization in configuration. That is something we majorly focusing, because when there is any migration we are doing applications and all, there are two situations. One is configuration, second is integration. Configuration, first of its kind we are doing. Integration means integrating SailPoint with any other internal or external applications. That comes under the external part, integration part. But as a BA, we focus more on the customization and configuration. For example, a scenario like, for example, customer wants to modify a default SailPoint configurations to integrate with any kind of internal HR systems with the existing SailPoint application we are using. For that, we should understand the integration requirements in this regard, because this is majorly focusing on the configuration side. But the scenario we have taken is integration, means how this can be integrated with any internal HR systems for payroll management they are using. So they wants to integrate HR with some sale point and all. So you have to gather the requirements as a BA, integration requirements we have to gather. It can be integration of, when it comes to the integration requirements we are gathering, we need to understand first, we need to understand the HR system which we are about to integrate with, and what kind of data structure and as well as format that HR system performing or maintaining by the business people or team members. Next, we need to identify what are the critical data points for integration. For example, if there is any employee data or role assignments, that can be explained even here. Next, we must should able in a position to engage with some technical team so that we can assess with any kind of APIs, because when we are going for integration, we go use APIs. Either it can be RESTful API, SOAP, Web API, all that API or any kind of connector availability for integration. That also we need to explain. Last but not least, we have to document the workflows for syncing the data between the sale point and HR systems. So this is also one of the things. So this is a scenario which I'm going to explain, which is what something which I've explained you in context to the documenting of workflows, syncing the data. All these things are comes under this category. So these are the three different scenarios. Of course, there were a couple of scenarios even, especially from data mapping point of view or configuration point of view. Of that, those scenarios I'm going to explain you in the coming session. Okay.